Owl Nation! Welcome back to another episode of the Night Owls podcast, the number one FAU podcast, part of the Night Owls in today's episode. And we come to you daily, every single day. This is your one-stop shop for all things FAU athletics, all things FAU sports. So if you want to get that FAU go-to podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. Today, we have a very special guest repping the hometown of Boca Raton with the hat, Hudson Friedman. Hudson, how's the day been so far?
Day's been not good because my Cowboys lost today. But other than that, I get to go on this podcast, so it kind of makes the day a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins lost today, so I'm kind of in the same boat. But the Owls won yesterday, so it just makes the day that much better to me, Hudson. Hudson, overall, big win yesterday against UAB, and now FAU is the cause of why UAB fired their head coach, Trent Dilfer. He is fired. He's no longer with the program. They parted ways. So I guess we could say that we were the reason of getting Trent Dilfer fired. So huge for FAU. That was kind of the first time I've ever felt like after 15 minutes of the game was over from FAU. In an FBS opponent, since I've been an FAU fan, I can't remember another time where FAU, the game's just over after 15 minutes. It was 28-0, 21-0 at the end of the first, and it was just wraps from there. So Hudson, overall takeaways from last night's game. How are we feeling?
I think this was a great game for FAU. Obviously, they were in control the whole game. I think FAU played a great game, but I think for Kagan Velkamp, this is a big prove-it game. Could he beat a team like UAB, maybe not one of the best teams in the American? Can he show out and ball out? And I think the answer was an astounding yes for him.
100% agree with you, Hudson. And it feels like every single week, Caden is getting more comfortable with the offense. He's progressing more. He's staying in the pocket. He's making better reads every single week, and he keeps getting better and better and growing within the offense. And I asked him last night, Caden, what's been different from the start of the season and now? And he said, I'm just not turning the ball over. I'm making smarter throws. And that's good because beginning of the season, Caden Velkamp was having 4, 5, 6, 7 interceptions. And, we can't have that. He already has 9 interceptions on the season, 4 picks against Maryland, 3 picks against FIU, 2 more picks against Memphis. I mean, he's turning the ball over a lot, and we can't have that. And the fact that he's been able to protect the football this week and last week, actually 11 interceptions on the season. So, it's not terrible. It's not great. We still had that 1 interception last week, but 1 interception you can win football games with. When you have 2 or 3, it makes it so much harder. And it feels like Caden's been so much better. Other than that, Hudson, what do you think has been the biggest difference in his game from the start of the season where he was turning it over 4 to 5 times a game to now?
Well, the difference for King and Velkamp is I think that he's being more smart with the football. He's double checking his reads. He's not going to his first read this time. I think one of the biggest things that we've seen, at least early in their season, is that he kept forcing the deep ball, kept forcing it instead of taking the smarter underneath slant routes. And that is exactly what he's doing now. And I think he's getting more players involved in the pass game rather than going to Easton Mess or just going to one guy. I mean, 3 different players caught a touchdown pass from him, which I think is a huge step up.
100% agree with you, Hudson. There. Also, I want to mention some of the weapons because Caden Velkamp can't do it without his weapons, and he has some of the best weapons. Obviously, Xavier Terrell, the running back, was hurt. Jamari Sanders was limited, but Kane Shields Dunn really stepped up. But in the receiver room, you were so high on Assad Wasim. Assad Wasim had his best game. 12 targets for Assad Wasim, 7 catches, a big touchdown. It's the fact of he's so shifty and crafty, and when he gets in space, there's no bringing him down. He broke so many tackles yesterday. He's super speedy, and it was all yards after catch. Caden Velkamp was comfortable giving him those screens, and he would just take it himself, go down the field 15, 20 yards. So huge from him. Your guy, Saad Wasim, had a great game. What are your thoughts on some of these weapons, and how are you feeling after you called that Saad Wasim was the best receiver on the team?
Well, I think it was very apparent that Easton Messer was going to be Kagan Velka's favorite target to throw to, but that doesn't mean he was going to be the best receiver on the roster. There was obviously some questions if Easton Messer could carry over the workload from Western Kentucky. And yes, he's answered that question. Yes, he could, but he needs some help. It can't be a one-man show on this FAU team, and I think Asad Wasim could be that number one guy. He could be a number one guy in a lot of other teams in the American. He just has so much talent, so shifty, the way he gets off the line, the way he breaks his route, and he's a force to be reckoned with in the open field. And I think that Kagan Velkin is finally recognizing that Asad Wasim could do it all with his legs, with his hands. He could do it all. And I think it's great to see the guy that I thought should be the wide receiver one finally making some plays.
A force to be reckoned with indeed, Hudson. Although it was Easton Messer's most quiet game, only 3 catches, he's just so good at, taking that other corner away because they were double teaming him the whole game, which is good because that frees up the space and the separation for Asad Wasim. But also, Easton Messer had that huge throwing touchdown on a gadget play where it was a flea flicker, and we saw that a lot. So that was great to see from Easton Messer, despite a non-most productive game in the receiving room. He was able to get involved with a throwing touchdown. So Easton Messer, he's been pretty solid throughout every single week. And I think this week especially, now teams are starting to double him, which just opens up the gap for Asad Wasim, Jay Sean Platt, Dom Henry, Jabari Smith, who caught a touchdown. I mean, there's so many guys on this team. Caden Shields Dutton, I said he's the best running back on this team, just talent-wise. He's a downhill runner. I think he showed it last night, 3 touchdowns from him. Velkamp looks great. Let's talk about the defense. We did have 2 injuries, Bryce Langston and Derek Rogers. They both came back towards the end of the game, which is positive. But the defense, it didn't have the best third and fourth quarter. We knew they were going to want to throw the ball and air raid it out, but, we stopped the running game. They only had 101 rushing yards with 4 running backs, and Jalen Gnida, he tried, but our defense was pretty stout. What are your thoughts on the defensive performance?
The defensive performance was one of the best I've seen all season. I mean, it's very rare that you see FAU have a shutout through one half. I mean, I think that was pretty great. The defense need to step up against this UAB team, and they could hit you with the run game, like you said, and they finally step up. I mean, I think one of the biggest reasons why FAU lost that game to Memphis, which was pretty close up until the fourth quarter, was that running game. The big explosive runs got to the second level. Those runs never really got to the second level for UAB, and it forced them to go to the air. And as we know, FAU has a great air defense, great pass defense, and they showed it because they forced them to throw. And I think that is what did them so good, held them to 0 points through the first half. Yeah, they scored 33. Most of them was in garbage time when it didn't really matter. And I think it was just a great defensive performance.
I agree with you for sure. Shout out to CJ Doggett, 2.5 sacks. He was one of our best interior defensive linemen last night, and that interior D line is so deep. You got Ensledge, you got Wilkie Denard, you got Bryce Langston, you got CJ Doggett. I mean, there's so many guys on the edge. Najon Barber, Deshaun Batiste. I mean, this D line is one of the best in the American Conference. There's no debating that. And CJ Doggett really separated himself last night. 2.5 sacks. He was able to get after Nita. He was able to get 12 pressures. Really nice night there from CJ Doggett. Let's talk about the offensive line because that was the best offensive line performance we've seen. We were talking about how the left side was really good of the O-line. But now, after last night, the right side looked really good. Vinny at center looked really good. We saw Braden Cunningham take some snaps at center as well. On the right side, we saw Dottie Richardson. He had his best game of the season. Jake Von Nonar was so good after coming back from the injury. And despite Alex Octavage being out at left guard, we still were able to be very effective, especially in the run protection. What are your thoughts on how good this O-line did? The PFF grades show pretty much everyone has a 70 or above, according to PFF. Hudson.
Okay, when the running back King Shields Dutton is getting 3 touchdowns, the offensive line has to do something with that. There were a lot of holes this game for King Shields Dutton just to cruise through. And obviously, the pass protection for Velkamp was very good. He didn't have to make any forced decisions because of that. I think the offensive line won the battle in the trenches. You always talk about, can you win the battle in the trenches? Can your offensive line hold just that one more second just to get that throwaway, just to get that hole open? And I think they did their job. They definitely did just that.
100% agree with you. Great night from the O-line. I mentioned it. Vinny looked great. Dottie looked great. Jake Vaughn looked great, especially without Alex. Braden looked great. So very high on the O-line, especially with Q-Sean Sapp and Madden Sanker being out and out for the season. So clap it up for the trenches. Clap it up for the defense for the most part and Caden Belcamp. But let's talk about next week. We're going into USF. The new AP poll came out, Hudson. AP poll top 25 today. And let's see what USF checked in at. I know they were number 24 last week. I'm pulling it up right here.
They're 19.
They are 19, Hudson, which is a huge jump up from 24 to 19. Top 20 matchup that FAU is going into top 20 environment. They're ranked 23rd according to the coaches poll, 19th according to the AP poll. Is that a fair ranking to you, Hudson? They did beat Florida and North Texas, but they got smoked by Miami. But I guess if we have to put Miami at 2, then if you lose them, it's not a bad loss.
I think it's a very, very fair ranking. I mean, you think of 19 really is a team that's competing. I think USF is definitely competing with some of the bigger teams. They got that win over Florida, that late game win. Yeah, Florida isn't the greatest team this year. You can argue maybe that they are frogs and not the best, but they are a very tough team. They play teams to their best, and any team that plays to their skill level, plays down to their competition, is always a great team just because you always have to play those late games. I mean, I think that a team that battles to the end, fights to the end, and finds a way to win is always a team that you want to root for. It's so exciting to watch. I think that USF has talent. They got obviously the quarterback Byron Brown, who could do it all. He's a dual threat quarterback. He could run, he could throw, he could do it all. You got Chaz Nimrod, the receiver. I mean, USF seems like a very complete team, and they are a great team that I think could win this American and go to the CFP. But I think 19, yes, is a very fair ranking. There's teams that are obviously better than them. And obviously, Miami is the best team in college football other than Ohio State.
100% Hudson, agree with you there. You kind of mentioned a few of their weapons. You mentioned Byron Brown. Can you just talk a little bit more about some of the matchups that FAU is going to have against them, what they have to do, what you think their early key to victories? And guys, this is by no means and no in-depth preview. We're going to have a USF guest on very soon, so make sure to stay tuned to that this week. But also, are you planning to be up in Tampa? The fans want to know if they're going to get some content from you up in Tampa this week, Hudson.
It's a day-to-day decisions. I don't know. I gotta see. But if I am there, look for me. I'll definitely be there. I'll say hi. And if I am there, expect a lot of content. I'm gonna be making a lot of content if I make the trip up there.
And then
But
those are some of the matchups you're looking at.
some of the matchups I'm looking at Chaz Nimrod. He's a very good receiver. He's got 466 reception yards this season. But obviously, USF is a run first offense. Whenever you have a player like Byron Brown who can run the ball as effective as he can and the quarterback position, you obviously have a lethal running game. And that is the truth with Sam Franklin. Byron Brown and Sam Franklin, they're going to have to double up against FAU. And I think if FAU could stop the run like they did against UAB, there should be no problem. But then don't be surprised when USF pulls it out through the air and hits some of their other guys.
A little bit of a curveball for you here. But Alex Golish, the USF head coach, is now the favorite to be the Penn State next head coach and replace James Franklin. Do you think that's a good decision? I know it's a little bit off topic from FAU, but I wanted to bring it up.
I mean, the firing of James Franklin, I think, is kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's obviously mid-season. Yes, the season is kind of over for Penn State if you look at it with the loss to Northwestern. But I just think that, yeah, he can't win in the big games, but that also has to do something with the players that they have. I mean, it can't be all on the coach. But yes, they got rid of him. And now, as you said, Alex Golis, the USF coach, I think it's too early to start thinking, can he be the head coach? I mean, he's got a season to finish. They're the 19th team in the country. They could possibly make it to the CFP, possibly even make it and win the national championship. I know I'm getting ahead of myself there, but they're the 19th best college team. I don't think he's thinking about the rumors of being a coach at Penn State if he is a good coach. And if he's not, I don't think he's the right candidate to be at Penn State if he's already thinking about doing another coaching job and not getting the job done this season.
Agree with you there, Hudson. We talked about USF having a path to the playoffs, but just you wait. FAU might have a path to the playoffs. Hudson, do you know the path off the top of your head, or do you want me to break it down?
I know the path. So FAU has to win out, and obviously that starts with beating this top team, USF. And I think if they do it, then they have kind of smooth cruising until they get to the later games in the schedule. But yeah, about JJ, I think you mentioned this analytic to me earlier in the day. You said 2% chance of winning out, and then North Texas needs to lose at least one game, which is you said about a 40% chance. Now, here's not to say it is very hard, but it can happen. And don't surprise if these Owls have a little more fight in them to make it to the American Conference Championship game and ultimately win and make it to the CFP.
Yeah, Hudson, and I wanted to, talk to you about this real quick because we were at the Memphis game. Memphis is supposed to be that G5 representative. Memphis is a very clear top 20 team in the country, undefeated, SEC win, Hudson. And FAU was in that game. They were down 5 points with 10 minutes left. So if you can compete with them, they're only getting better. You could be anyone. Let's pull up the North Texas schedule here and just talk about how easy it is because, man, it's easy. If you guys can see right here, look at this schedule. UTSA at home, that's probably your hardest game going in. Then you go to 1-5 Charlotte. Then you have to play Navy. Navy's not bad.
That's
Then
a tough game. That's a
you
tough
get
game.
to host them. But then you get to go to UAB, who doesn't have their coach. You get to play Rice, who's terrible. And then you get to play Temple. So there's only 2 lost opportunities, but they're both at home, and they're both going to be favored. North Texas is going to be favored by at least 3 points, by at least a field goal in each of their last 6 games. So it's very possible that they go undefeated. Now, if North Texas goes undefeated, the only other way FAU could get in is 2 losses by Memphis, which is, not likely for Memphis to lose 2 more times. But, it's very possible. Again, if FAU beats USF, they would have the head-to-head over USF in the conference. If they beat Tulane, they would win the tiebreaker. They'd have the head-to-head with USF. And, last but not least, if they beat Navy, they would have the head-to-head over Navy. So it is very possible, Hudson. But let's talk about this. You're not automatically in if that happens. Then you go to the conference championship where you'll play Memphis. And then if you beat Memphis and UNLV loses a couple games from the Mountain West, it's possible. I know that's a lot to unpack, guys. We will have a full in-depth scenario of how FAU can get into the college football playoffs later. But if we make the playoffs, Hudson, we have a chance to make the NCAA championship. And imagine this. FAU going on the road, let's say to Oregon, in a sold-out crowd in Oregon in the playoffs. That'd be crazy. Or FAU going to USC or anyone really. They could go to whoever's the number 5 seed, they will play. Hudson, any final thoughts here? Anything you want to mention? And how are you feeling? Anything to that sort of sense?
I just want to say King of Elkamp has to be smart with the football. I know we say that so many times, and possibly the viewers are getting tired with it, but it's so true. I mean, he just got to be smart. Just take those checkdowns. You don't have to force balls downfield into double coverage. You don't need it all. And also, I would say we need to involve more of the run game. Yes, we've had some, and obviously with the injuries, but I think Caden Shields Dutton, he is able to carry the workload. He is able to be that running back one. And I think we give it more to him. I think we'll be able to beat USF and possibly also the defense has to slow down at USF. If we are in a competitive game in that 4th quarter, let's say like 20-20, which is very possible, I think we could sneak it out I think we got it, and I think if we win it, don't be surprised if FAU is going to be in the paper a lot of times. People are going to be talking about them. These mighty owls. Don't let them get you.
Yep, they won't let him get you indeed. Hudson has the Boca Raton hat. He may be in Tampa Bay this weekend, but we'll have to carry our gear over to Tampa. We want to take over that stadium. And by the way, why are they called University of South Florida? They are in West Florida. They are in North Florida. We call them the West Florida Cows here because they aren't bulls. Look at their logo. It's the Cows, and they're not in South Florida. So FAU West versus West Florida this Saturday. We'll see y'all there. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. And as always, Hudson, go Owls.
Go Owls.